Greetings, friends, and welcome to today's Extraordinary Connection. My name is Devin Smith, and I serve as the pastor at Romeo UMC. I'm willing to bet that just about everyone out there has at some point heard the quote, "Comparison is the thief of joy." Although I don't quite know if Mittens there would agree with that. As I was doing a little searching, I found Mittens. He looks a little unhappy with his comparison that he sees. But as I did that quick search here today, I also found that there's no shortage of images or memes that play off of that quote. I also discovered that for as widespread as the phrase might be, there also isn't a lot of certainty over where it first originated. Because you see, those images that I found, many of them had that quote attributed to different people. Among them were Mark Twain, C.S. Lewis, and President Theodore Roosevelt. And as I did a little further searching and digging, I discovered that none of those three actually have a written speech or a writing where they specifically use that phrase. It's never found in their writings. And there are several other authors and individuals that have had different plays on the phrase, "Comparison is the thief of joy," many of them over the years, but the exact original authorship of that phrase, it's never been pinned down, never been found exactly. And the fact is that we may never know who or where the phrase originated, but that doesn't change the fact that at some point, all of us are probably guilty of allowing that comparison, whatever that comparison might be, to steal a little of our joy. If I had their house, if I had that car, if I could just go on a vacation like that, if I looked that good, if I made that kind of money, if my kids were that well behaved, if only. We can do it in our churches and our own faith walks too, can't we? If I just had more, go ahead and insert the blank there with whatever you want. If I had more time, more money, more skills, more patience, I just had more faith, I would do more for the church. I'd do more for Christ. But when we really stop and think about it, when we think those things, when we have those thoughts, what are we doing? What are we really doing? We're comparing our current realities, where we find ourselves, to some potential or some possible scenario that would see us behaving differently if just things were different. And it's often that in that comparison, we find a reason to be less happy, less joyful than we would be if only circumstances were different. And I'm just as guilty of this as anyone. Sometimes I see the gifts and graces of some of my colleagues and I think, wow, I would be such a better pastor if only I could do whatever that thing might be. And I start comparing, start looking at everything that I might see as a shortcoming in me and wishing it was different. But last week, as I was preparing for service, I came across a different quote, and I used it in worship last Sunday. So, Romeo, friend, sorry, I know you already heard this, but I hope hearing it again may still be meaningful to you. But these words, they've been echoing in my mind since I first encountered them. This was written by an individual named William Temple, who served as a priest and a bishop in the early 1900s. And they actually have a little of that comparison in them that I've been talking about. But this is what William Temple wrote. It is no good giving me a play like Hamlet or King Lear and telling me to write a play like that. Shakespeare could do it. I can't. And it's no good showing me a life like the life of Jesus and telling me to live a life like that. Jesus could do it. I can't. But If the genius of Shakespeare could come and live in me, then I could write plays like his. And if the Spirit of Jesus could come and live in me, then I could live a life like his. Hear that again, my friends. And if the Spirit of Jesus could come and live in me, then I could live a life like his. This past Sunday, we celebrated Pentecost. We celebrated the coming of the Holy Spirit, God's Spirit, Christ's Spirit coming to be amongst the people. And we celebrate because that Spirit, it didn't just blow through the room and make some noise and then disappear into the great blue yonder. No, the Holy Spirit, it came and it stayed. It lived within each of those followers of Christ. And it does the same today. It isn't a question of if the Spirit of Christ lived in me, then I could do X, Y, or Z. The Spirit of Christ does live in each of us. And not only that, it guides us, it strengthens us, it awakens in us the gifts we may not even be aware we have. But they are the ones that we need. In that scene in Acts 2, we're told that all of them were filled with the Holy Spirit and began to speak in other languages as the Spirit gave them ability. That same Spirit still fills us. And maybe it doesn't provide us the ability to speak in other languages, but it still gives us the abilities we need. And the abilities, the gifts, the graces that I have, they're likely different from the ones that you have. They're different from the ones your neighbor has, or your friend has, or your sibling has, or your coworker has. And all of that is okay. We don't need to compare and wish that we could be more like anyone else. God sent the Holy Spirit to live in us for a purpose, to make use of the skills that we have been blessed with. My friend Mittens there may very well disagree that it doesn't matter. We shouldn't compare. Comparison is the thief of joy. Sometimes we want what someone else has, but I would challenge you to stop comparing. Stop looking at what others have and remember what you do have. Celebrate it this day. Celebrate it always. Until next time, my friends, stay safe, take care, and God bless.